When people think about coins that are worth fortunes, their minds often wander to the oldest examples, the ones struck in silver or gold centuries ago. But numismatics, the world of coin collecting, has a way of surprising us. Sometimes, a coin that seems modern, familiar, and ordinary turns out to be one of the most fascinating treasures of all. One of these coins is the 1992 P. Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it's just a tiny 10-cent piece, a coin most of us have spent without a second thought. But in reality, certain examples of this dime have achieved values that leave people absolutely stunned. The Roosevelt dime itself carries with it a story of legacy and remembrance. Introduced in 1946, the year after President Franklin D. Roosevelt's death, the dime was designed to honor a man who not only led America through the Great Depression and World War II, but also played a pivotal role in founding the March of Dimes, a charitable campaign to combat polio. The dime's obverse features the strong profile of Roosevelt, sculpted by John R. Cynic, while the reverse bears a simple yet powerful design, a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. By 1992, the design had already been in use for nearly half a century, instantly recognizable to anyone who carried coins in their pocket. The year 1992 was a transitional and exciting time for American coinage. It marked one of the last years before the frenzy of the 50-state quarters program would begin in the late 1990s and completely transform coin collecting in the United States. The mint was producing coins at high volumes, with Philadelphia striking hundreds of millions of dimes. The Philadelphia Mint's output was enormous, and the little P mint mark stamped just above the date on the coin's obverse identified these pieces. For most Americans, these dimes were just tools for daily transactions, feeding parking meters, buying snacks from vending machines, or giving exact change at the checkout line. Yet among the flood of ordinary coins, certain rare pieces stood apart. What makes the 1992 P. Roosevelt dime extraordinary lies in the combination of rarity, minting anomalies, and condition rarities that elevate a humble 10-cent piece into something worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mint errors, as in many cases, are at the center of the story. Even in the early 1990s, when minting technology had become highly sophisticated, mistakes still slipped through. These mistakes are often dramatic and captivating. Off-center strikes are one type of error collectors love, where part of the design is missing or shifted awkwardly across the surface. Double strikes, where the coin is struck more than once, create overlapping images that are unmistakably valuable. There are also rarer anomalies, like transitional planchet errors, where the coin is accidentally struck on a blank mint for another denomination. Imagine a dime struck on a copper cent planchet, or even on a foreign coin blank. Such coins are incredibly scarce and immediately spark bidding wars when they appear on the market. But it isn't just errors that create value. Condition plays a vital role in numismatics. Most 1992 P dimes circulated heavily, which means scratches, dings, and worn-down details are common. Their value, in circulated grades, is essentially 10 cents. But the very few coins that avoided circulation, those pulled fresh from mint rolls and carefully preserved, have achieved incredible heights. When graded by professional services like NGC or PeaceGS, only a small handful achieve grades as high as MS68 or MS69. These coins, with perfect luster, sharp strikes, and flawless surfaces, are rare survivors. Collectors understand how few exist, and when one comes to auction, the prices soar. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that 1992 was a year when proof coins were also produced at the San Francisco Mint, carrying the S Mint mark. Proof dimes are struck with specially prepared dies and polished planchets to create mirror-like fields and frosted devices. While these coins are collectible and admired for their beauty, it's the Philadelphia dimes, the regular circulation strikes, that contain the greatest mysteries and the most jaw-dropping values. The idea that a dime mint for everyday use could be so valuable makes this coin one of the most talked-about Roosevelt dimes among collectors. Looking closely at a high-grade 1992 P dime reveals just how stunning the design can be when perfectly preserved. Roosevelt's profile is sharply defined, with the details of his hair fully visible. The motto, "I in God we trust," stands out crisply, as does the mint mark and the date. On the reverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch display their intricate details with remarkable clarity. The luster dances across the coin's surface, almost glowing when the coin is tilted in the light. This is the level of quality that turns a dime into a treasure. The 1990s also brought new energy into coin collecting in the United States. Collectors were beginning to anticipate the changes the mint would introduce later in the decade, but they were also aware of the opportunities presented by modern coins. The Roosevelt dime, though often overlooked compared to quarters and cents, quietly held its own secrets. Collectors who specialized in dimes, or those who simply had the curiosity to search through rolls, sometimes discovered extraordinary pieces. The 1992 P dime became one of those coins that reward careful eyes and patient searching. Auction records tell the most dramatic part of this story. When pristine 1992 P dimes in exceptional condition or with dramatic mint errors appear for sale, they draw fierce competition. Bidders know how rare these coins are, and the prices reflect that demand. There have been examples that stunned collectors by selling for amounts that seemed almost unbelievable for a modern dime. These sales fuel the excitement, creating legends within the numismatic world and inspiring more people to search for treasures in their own change jars and collections. What makes the story of the 1992 P dime even more exciting is the accessibility. Unlike coins from the 1800s that are long gone from circulation, the 1992 dime is modern enough that examples still surface today. It's possible, however unlikely, that someone could discover one in their pocket change or among inherited collections. This possibility gives the coin a certain allure. Anyone could be the next person to stumble upon a dime that turns out to be worth a fortune. That chance discovery is part of what makes numismatics so addictive and rewarding. The dual nature of the 1992 P dime, both common and unimaginably rare, highlights what makes coin collecting so fascinating. On the one hand, billions of these dimes exist and are worth only their face value. On the other, a tiny fraction carry errors or exist in pristine condition, elevating them into a completely different realm of value. That duality, that razor-thin line between ordinary and extraordinary, is what keeps collectors searching, studying, and hoping that it's also worth noting the craftsmanship and symbolism of the Roosevelt dime design. Even decades after it was first introduced, it remained an elegant and meaningful design. Roosevelt's portrait continues to honor his legacy, while the reverse elements reflect values that remain timeless. For collectors, owning a rare 1992 P dime is not only a financial treasure, but also a way to connect with American history and symbolism in a tangible way. As collectors look back at the 1992 P dime, they see more than just a coin. They see a story of chance, rarity, and value hiding in plain sight. They see the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the reminder that treasures can be found where you least expect them. They see proof that modern coins can carry just as much excitement and surprise as their older counterparts. And now, we reach the moment that captures everyone's imagination: the value. While the vast majority of 1992 P dimes are worth only 10 cents, the rarest examples, those with dramatic mint errors or those preserved in nearly perfect condition, have achieved breathtaking prices at auction. These are the coins that transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, the humble into the legendary. Depending on their rarity, condition, and unique characteristics, a very rare 1992 P Roosevelt dime can be worth anywhere from $33,000 to an astonishing $182,000. In the world of coins, it's easy to assume that the most valuable pieces are the oldest, the ones that trace their history back to the 1700s or 1800s. People imagine rare silver dollars, gold coins, or colonial coppers as the kinds of treasures that bring life-changing value. But the truth is more surprising. Sometimes, it's a coin struck within the past few decades that captures collectors' attention, and one of the most extraordinary examples of this is the 2000 P Roosevelt dime. At face value, it is worth 10 cents, just another piece of pocket change, but in rare cases, this small coin has sold for staggering amounts, reaching into the tens of thousands and even beyond $100,000. The Roosevelt dime itself has a legacy stretching back to 1946, when it was first introduced to honor Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death the previous year. John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint, designed the dime with a simple yet powerful portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse, symbolizing leadership and resilience. The reverse shows a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, representing liberty, peace, and strength. By the year 2000, This design had been in use for over half a century, unchanged and iconic, a familiar sight in the daily lives of millions of Americans. The year 2000 was a fascinating one in coinage and in American culture. The 50 state quarters program was already in full swing, bringing millions of new collectors into the hobby as they hunted for special quarters from each state. While quarters were getting most of the public's attention, other denominations like the dime quietly continued production at the U.S. Mint. That year, the Philadelphia Mint produced the 2000 P. Roosevelt dime, with the P mint mark appearing on the obverse just above the year. Billions of these dimes were made, and most of them went unnoticed, slipping into circulation for everyday transactions. But as always in numismatics, rarity often hides within the ordinary. What makes the 2000 P. Roosevelt dime so fascinating is the combination of mint errors, condition rarities, and unusual anomalies that transform certain examples into treasures worth fortunes. Mint errors are one of the most exciting areas of coin collecting. Even in the age of advanced technology, the U.S. Mint occasionally produces coins that are struck improperly or on the wrong planchets. For the 2000 P dime, some of the most valuable errors include off-center strikes, where the design is shifted dramatically away from the center, creating a partial or missing image. Another dramatic error is the double strike, where the coin is struck twice, leaving overlapping images that are unmistakable and highly collectible. Even more fascinating are the rare examples struck on foreign planchets or blanks meant for other denominations. Imagine holding a dime struck on a copper cent planchet or even on a blank intended for another country's coinage. Such mistakes are incredibly rare, and collectors compete fiercely when one appears on the market. Condition also plays a critical role in the value of the 2000 P dime. Most dimes, as soon as they are struck, enter circulation where they begin to collect scratches, wear, and nicks. Over time, they lose their original luster, and their details become worn. But a very small number of 2000 P dimes were preserved in pristine condition, often saved from fresh mint rolls or discovered in unopened bags. When these coins are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, only a few achieve the highest grades, such as MS68 or MS69. These ultra-high-grade survivors are rare, and collectors know it. A coin graded just 1 point higher can mean the difference between being worth a few dollars and being worth thousands. Proof coins also factor into the broader Roosevelt dime story, though the Philadelphia Mint did not produce proofs. In 2000, proofs were made at the San Francisco Mint and carried the S mint mark. These coins were struck with extraordinary care, with polished dies and specially prepared planchets that create mirror-like surfaces and frosted details. Some proof coins from this year feature deep cameo contrast, where the frosted portrait of Roosevelt appears almost three-dimensional against the reflective field. While these S-Mint proofs are beautiful and collectible, it is the rare Philadelphia issues with extraordinary preservation or unusual mint errors that have captured the imagination of collectors. The artistry of the Roosevelt dime may seem simple, but when examined closely, it reveals why collectors prize pristine examples. The details of Roosevelt's hair, the sharpness of his profile, the crisp motto, "I in God we trust," and the intricate torch on the reverse all come alive on well-struck coins. In proof-like or high-grade mint state examples, the dime shines with a brilliance that makes it easy to see why collectors are willing to pay a premium. The story of the 2000 P dime is also tied to the broader excitement in coin collecting during that time. The early 2000s were marked by a renewed passion for coins, as millions of Americans were introduced to the hobby through the state quarters. While most focused on quarters, seasoned collectors knew that dimes, nickels, and cents could also yield incredible rarities. The 2000 P dime quickly became one of those sleeper coins, overlooked by the public, but quietly commanding attention in numismatic circles. Auction houses have confirmed just how valuable the rarest 2000 P dimes can be. When extraordinary mint error coins or flawless high-grade examples appear, the bidding is intense. Collectors know how few exist, and the rarity drives the price sky high. There are recorded cases of 2000 P Roosevelt dimes fetching tens of thousands at auction, shocking those who never expected a modern dime to achieve such numbers. These sales only fuel the legend of the coin, encouraging more people to search their change and coin rolls for hidden treasures. There's also a sense of accessibility in the story of the 2000 P dime. Unlike ancient coins or pieces locked away in museums, the dime is a coin most Americans have held in their hands. That familiarity makes the idea that one could be worth a fortune even more thrilling. It means that the possibility exists, however slim, that a rare error or pristine example could be sitting unnoticed in someone's coin jar right now. This element of surprise keeps the hunt alive, inspiring new collectors to check their pocket change and seasoned collectors to scrutinize their rolls with extra care. The beauty of the 2000 P. Roosevelt dime story lies in this balance between the ordinary and the extraordinary. Billions of dimes from that year remain worth only 10 cents. They pay for parking meters, vending machines, and cups of coffee. Yet a handful, because of errors, condition, or other anomalies, have achieved legendary status, worth thousands upon thousands of dollars. That contrast is what makes numismatics such a compelling hobby. The idea that history, rarity, and value can hide in plain sight. The importance of detail cannot be overstated when it comes to this coin. Collectors examine the strike quality, the surfaces, and the presence of any unusual characteristics. They study the luster, the mint mark, and the edges. A tiny difference can be the line between a dime worth pocket change and a dime worth enough to buy a car or even a house. It is this meticulous study that turns coin collecting into both a science and an art, a pursuit that blends history with treasure hunting. As we reflect on the 2000 P dime, we are reminded that modern coins are just as capable of producing legends as those struck centuries ago. The Roosevelt dime design may have been unchanged since 1946, but every year's production tells a new story. For the year 2000, that story is one of hidden treasures, unexpected errors, and the thrill of discovery. And now, we arrive at the part that captures everyone's imagination. While nearly all 2000 P dimes remain worth only 10 cents, the rarest examples, the dramatic mint errors, the ultra-high-grade survivors, and the coins with unusual planchet mistakes, have stunned collectors with their values. These are the coins that remind us why numismatics is both a passion and a pursuit of possibility. Depending on rarity, condition, and uniqueness, a very rare 2000 P. Roosevelt dime can be worth anywhere from $14,500 to an astounding $168,000. At first glance, the 2004 Roosevelt dime is one of those coins you'd likely dismiss without a second thought. It is small, silver in color, and so common in everyday life that most people barely notice it when paying for groceries, slipping it into a parking meter, or tossing it into a change jar. But behind this unassuming appearance lies a story of rarity, precision, error, and the fascinating world of coin collecting, where even the smallest piece of currency can turn into a life-changing treasure. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American coinage since 1946, when it replaced the Mercury dime. It was designed by John R. Sinnock, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint, to honor Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt wasn't only remembered for leading America through the Great Depression and World War II, but also for his personal battle with polio and his involvement with the March of Dimes, an organization that played a vital role in the fight against the disease. It was only fitting that the dime, a coin tied to the March of Dimes campaign, would carry his portrait. By 2004. The design of the dime had remained largely unchanged for nearly 6 decades. On the obverse, Roosevelt's profile is sharp and dignified, with the word liberty to the left and the motto, "I in God, we trust," beneath his chin. The reverse still carried the powerful symbolism of a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, representing liberty, peace, and strength. This enduring design had become a familiar part of American life, a quiet constant that passed through countless hands every single day. But within the billions of coins struck that year, some were destined to become rarities worth far more than their face value. The U.S. Mint in 2004 struck dimes at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins bore the P Mint mark, Denver coins the D Mint mark, and San Francisco was responsible for producing the proof dimes, which carried the S Mint mark. Most of these coins entered circulation without incident, and they remain plentiful today. However, it is within the rare anomalies and high-grade survivors that the story of the 2004 Roosevelt dime becomes truly fascinating. Error coins are always at the heart of numismatic excitement, and the 2004 dime is no exception. Among the most intriguing are off-center strikes, broad strikes, double dies, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. Each of these represents a failure of the minting process, a moment when precision slipped and something unusual occurred. For collectors, such errors are not flaws, but treasures, Because they transform a common dime into a one-of-a-kind piece of history. Point 1. Particularly dramatic kind of error seen in 2004 involves dimes struck on planchets intended for other denominations. Imagine finding a dime struck on a cent planchet, appearing smaller, thinner, and copper-colored, or one struck on a foreign coin blank, resulting in odd shapes, weights, or compositions. These errors are incredibly rare, and when authenticated by grading companies, they often sell for staggering amounts. But it is not only error coins that bring value to the 2004 dime. Condition matters enormously in the coin world. The majority of dimes produced each year quickly enter circulation, where they are subjected to scratches, nicks, and general wear. Finding a flawless example is extremely difficult, especially from a modern circulating year like 2004. That's where grading services like PCGS and NGC come into play. Coins graded at the highest levels, such as MS68 or MS69, become elite examples. Collectors understand how rare it is to find such pristine modern coins, and the competition to own them drives prices into the thousands and beyond. Proof coins from San Francisco add another dimension to the 2004 dime story. Proof coins are struck using specially prepared dies and planchets, creating mirror-like fields and frosted details. The artistry of Roosevelt's portrait, the torch, and the branches comes alive with incredible clarity under this method. Some proofs display deep cameo contrast, where the frosted design elements seem to float above the reflective background. While ordinary proof sets are common, certain errors or unusual variations in these proofs can catapult their value far beyond expectations. The appeal of the 2004 dime lies not only in its rarity, but also in its place within the broader narrative of modern American coinage. The early 2000s were a time of renewed interest in coin collecting, sparked in part by the wildly popular 50 state quarters program that had begun in 1999. Millions of Americans who had never considered coin collecting before were suddenly checking their pocket change for special designs. This wave of interest spilled over into other denominations, including the dime, and collectors began to look more closely at modern issues like the 2004 Roosevelt dime. Stories of incredible finds fuel this excitement. Imagine a collector opening an ordinary bankroll of dimes and spotting a dramatic off-center strike from 2004. Or someone carefully examining a proof set purchased decades earlier and realizing the coin inside is a rare error. The thrill of discovery keeps collectors searching, driven by the knowledge that treasures sometimes hide in plain sight. Auction houses have played a central role in establishing the reputation of the 2004 dime. When high-grade examples or dramatic error coins come to market, the bidding often climbs far beyond initial estimates. Collectors know that only a tiny fraction of the billions of 2004 dimes possess the qualities that make them extraordinary, and they are willing to pay extraordinary prices to secure them. Some sales have reached well into 5 figures, confirming the coin's status as a modern rarity. Beyond rarity and value, the Roosevelt dime itself carries a timeless beauty. Cynic's design may seem simple compared to some of the more ornate coins of U.S. history, but in its simplicity lies strength. Roosevelt's profile is confident and determined, a reflection of the man who led America through crisis. The torch burns brightly on the reverse, flanked by branches that balance peace with resilience. When struck with perfection, these details reveal an artistry that collectors cherish. The cultural backdrop of 2004 adds another interesting layer. It was a time when technology was advancing rapidly, when digital currency and electronic payments were beginning to reshape commerce. Yet, even amidst this transformation, the dime remained an indispensable coin, circulating through millions of transactions each day. That continuity connects Americans to history, and when rare versions of the coin are discovered, it reminds us that even in a world rushing toward the future, the past still has treasures to offer. The importance of condition, rarity, and error varieties cannot be overstated when it comes to the 2004 dime. For most people, the coin will forever be worth only 10 cents. But for the vigilant collector who discovers a pristine, high-grade example, a dramatic mint error, or a rare proof variety, the story is entirely different. These coins become symbols of chance, history, and the thrill of numismatics, carrying values that defy their humble origins. The allure of the 2004 dime also underscores a larger truth about coin collecting. Value can emerge anywhere, even from the most unexpected years. It is not always the age of a coin that determines its worth, but rather its rarity, condition, and story. The 2004 dime proves this point with striking clarity, showing that modern coins, too, can achieve legendary status. Collectors often remind each other that every coin tells a story. The 2004 Roosevelt dime tells one of precision and error, of mass production and rarity, of ordinary change and extraordinary value. It shows us that in the world of coins, there's always the possibility of discovery, always the chance that something remarkable is hiding in plain sight. And so we reach the heart of the matter. While billions of 2004 dimes remain in circulation, worth only 10 cents apiece, the rarest among them have achieved incredible prices at auction. Whether it is an extraordinary mint error, a flawless high-grade survivor, or a proof coin with a unique twist, these rarities have transformed the 2004 Roosevelt dime from pocket change into treasure. Depending on rarity, grade, and uniqueness, the value of a very rare 2004 Roosevelt dime can range from $21,000 to a staggering $124,000.